This is Dr.RED Panda.
What has allowed Jewish people to maintain their ethnic identity after such a long diaspora? What unique history has shaped their current appearance? Hello everyone, I am Dr.RED Panda. Today, I will take you through the entire history of this enigmatic people and unveil the true identity of the Jews. The Jewish people are undoubtedly one of the most mysterious ethnic groups in the world. Throughout human history, no other nation has managed to maintain its identity after enduring a diaspora lasting 1,800 years, and even re-establish its own nation-state. While powerful peoples like the Greeks, Romans, Germans, Arabs, Indians, and Iranians have built empires throughout history, the Jews have never established an empire of their own. Yet, behind many empires, the influence of Jewish individuals can often be found. The origin of Israel, Abraham. In the Judean mountains, 30 kilometers south of Jerusalem, at an elevation of 930 meters, lies an ancient city nearly 5,500 years old, Hebron. Within the city is a cave known as the Cave of Machpelah, where the founder of Judaism and the ancestor of the Jewish people, Abraham, is buried. Abraham lived around 2000 BCE, approximately 4,000 years ago. He originally resided in a Sumerian city-state within the world's oldest civilization, the Mesopotamian civilization. However, one day he suddenly received a revelation from God. God instructed him to leave that place and go to a land called Canaan, promising him, "I will give this land to you and your descendants. As long as you believe in me and live according to my ways, you will establish a great nation there." Abraham, with his household, made Canaan his home. Among his descendants was Jacob, who once grappled with an angel. In this divine encounter, the angel bestowed upon Jacob a new name, Israel, signifying one who strives with God. Henceforth, Jacob was known as Israel. The Israelites in Egypt. Israel had a beloved son named Joseph, whose brothers were very jealous of him and sold him as a slave to Egypt. Unexpectedly, Joseph, through his ability to interpret dreams, thrived in Egypt and became the second in command to Pharaoh. The ungrateful descendants of Israel were led to believe that Joseph had long since died. It wasn't until a famine struck Canaan that Israel had to flee to Egypt with his family, only to discover that his beloved son Joseph was not only alive but had reached the pinnacle of success. Joseph recognized his father and brothers and, putting aside past grievances, welcomed his family, helping them settle in Egypt. Their descendants became the Israelites. It is clear that the Pharaoh of Egypt initially welcomed the Israelites. However, as the Israelites grew in number and their way of life differed greatly from that of the Egyptians, the Pharaoh began to fear them and ultimately ordered their enslavement. Thus, the Israelites began a slave life that lasted over 4 centuries. The great prophet Moses. According to legend, in an effort to control the population of the Israelites, the Pharaoh of Egypt ordered the slaughter of Israelite male infants. In desperation, an Israelite woman placed her newborn son in a basket and set it adrift in the Nile River. Unexpectedly, this child was found by an Egyptian princess who was bathing by the river. The kind-hearted princess knew he was an Israelite child but decided to adopt him. This child would grow up to become the prophet Moses. Thus, Moses grew up as a member of the Egyptian royal family. As he matured, he learned about his true identity and mission, ultimately leading the Israelites out of Egypt and back to their homeland in Canaan. It is said that Moses demonstrated the miraculous ability to part the Red Sea, enabling the Israelites to escape from the pursuing Egyptians. He also inscribed the covenant between God and the Israelites on stone tablets, which became the foundation of the Jewish faith. The Israelites in the Promised Land. Although the Israelites returned to the land of Canaan, which God had promised them, they did not establish a great nation as God had promised. The descendants of the 12 sons of Israel gradually divided into 12 tribes and often fought among themselves. However, these 12 tribes did experience a brief period of unity when they established a unified kingdom of Israel. In the 11th century BCE, King Saul from the tribe of Benjamin became the first person to unify the 12 tribes and establish the unified kingdom of Israel. In the 10th century BCE, King David, a direct descendant of Judah, once again unified the kingdom. Yes, he is the same David sculpted by Michelangelo. David's son, Solomon, was the one who built the temple in Jerusalem. After this brief period of unity, the kingdom of Israel once again became divided. At this time, in the 8th century BCE, the kingdom of Israel was experiencing internal division, while the neighboring Assyrian Empire in the Mesopotamian plain was rapidly expanding. The already weak and disunited kingdom of Israel became even more vulnerable to annihilation. As a result, the kingdom established by the line of Judah became a vassal state under Assyrian rule, while other tribes were directly destroyed. It was through the lineage of Judah and the unique ethnic identity and faith of the Israelites that they managed to survive. This lineage of Judah, along with the contributions of other absorbed tribes, became what we now know as the Jewish people. By the end of the 7th century BCE, the Neo-Babylonian Empire rose to power and defeated the Assyrian Empire. Consequently, the Jews fell under the rule of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. The situation for the Jews was even worse than during Assyrian rule, as the Assyrian rulers had allowed them to continue living in Canaan as second-class citizens. In contrast, the Neo-Babylonian rulers directly captured them and brought them to Babylon as slaves, a period known as the Babylonian captivity. It wasn't until the 6th century BCE, when the Persian Empire rose to power and conquered the Neo-Babylonian Empire, that the Jews imprisoned in Babylon were liberated and allowed to return to their homeland in Canaan. The Persian Empire was a highly civilized, multi-ethnic state. Under Persian rule, the Jews lived quite well. The biblical book of Esther recounts a story about a minister named Haman, who, harboring a grudge against a Jew, plotted to exterminate the Jewish people. When the queen learned of this, she immediately exposed Haman's conspiracy to the Persian king. Upon hearing this, the king was very angry and ordered Haman to be executed. However, the good days for the Jews came to an end after the fall of the Persian Empire. With the rise of the Roman Empire, the Jewish region became a province under Roman rule, and the Jews once again became second-class citizens. Consequently, they repeatedly launched uprisings to resist Roman rule. As the saying goes, when Rome marches out, nothing grows. Emperor Vespasian sent his son Titus to suppress the Jewish uprisings. Under Titus's leadership, the Roman army flattened the Jews' holy city of Jerusalem and burned their temple. Yet the Jews still refused to submit. Half a century later, they rebelled again, only to be crushed by Emperor Hadrian's forces. At this point, the battered and scattered Jews completely lost their rights to live in their homeland and were dispersed across the world. Evil anti-Semitism. Although the term anti-Semitism was not coined until 1897, anti-Semitic sentiments have existed since ancient times. From the previous discussion, it is clear that, aside from the Persians, other nations were generally unfriendly toward the Jewish people. Why was this the case? The reason lies in the fact that the Jews strictly adhered to the covenant made with their ancestors and God, living according to the laws prescribed in their religious texts. This distinct way of life hindered their integration with other nations, making them appear strange or peculiar in the eyes of others. As long as you are different from others, you will be excluded. This is something everyone can relate to. During the 1,800 years of exile from their homeland of Canaan, the Jews were continuously marginalized by other peoples. In the Middle Ages, anti-Semitism emerged to varying degrees across Europe. The establishment of ghettos completely isolated Jews from the mainstream societies of various countries. Anti-Semitism was particularly severe in medieval Germany, where Jews began to be represented by an image of a sow. With the invention of the printing press, this image spread rapidly, appearing not only in books but also in countless printed materials and crafts. Its widespread replication created an atmosphere of anti-Semitism throughout Germany. Ultimately, during the Nazi regime in Germany, this anti-Semitism erupted into full-blown genocide. The Nazis launched a campaign of extermination against the Jews, resulting in the deaths of an estimated 6 million Jews during the Holocaust. However, in the aftermath of the Holocaust, the desire among Jews for a homeland grew stronger. After World War II, a large number of Jews returned to the land of Canaan, from which they had been forcibly displaced 1,800 years earlier, to settle there once again. Today's Jews and the State of Israel. On November 29, 1947, the United Nations General Assembly Resolution 181 decided to support the establishment of independent states for both the Israelis and the Arabs who had lived in this land for over 1,000 years, which would become Israel and Palestine. Then, on May 14, 1948, the Jews officially founded their state, known today as Israel. Jews make up less than 0.3% of the world's population, yet they account for 22.35% of Nobel Prize winners. In the United States, they represent less than 3% of the population but control over 70% of the country's wealth. It is no exaggeration to say that Jews are a nation rich in scientists, financiers, philosophers, and Nobel laureates. Such a nation should be one that commands immense respect. However, this has led to significant animosity towards Jews. Nowadays, a quick search on the internet reveals a plethora of conspiracy theories regarding Jews. Some people may never have encountered a Jewish person yet firmly believe that Jews are exploiting them or even plotting against them. Throughout history, Jews have faced oppression and domination, but they have always resisted and ultimately paid a heavy price, spending 1,800 years in exile before returning to their homeland. Meanwhile, some individuals bow submissively before their true oppressors while listening to conspiracy theories about Jews, getting outraged. I find this to be quite ridiculous. And that's a wrap for this episode of the video. I'm DR.RED Panda. If any of you have your own perspectives or if you think there are any errors in the video, feel free to leave a comment in the discussion section. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Until next time, take care.